All right, joining us now, investigative reporter and Fox News contributor Sara Carter, along with the National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd is there. Good to see you both. You know, Joe Biden said, oh, there's going to be chaos this week. There's been nothing but chaos, Sara. We have over 6 million people, about 6.5 million when you count in gotaways, that have already come into this country illegally with the help of Joe Biden. He's aiding and abetting the law breaking without any consequences at all. And now it's about to get worse.
Right, Sean. It is going to get worse, and it's already worse. And what they've done is they're trying to hide this from the American people. They're trying to keep this from the American people. Even today, when I was interviewing Senator Judd, they had requested that I turn the camera and ask him the questions so that the audience could not see the people that were lining up to get on the buses, even the buses themselves, of course, darkened windows. I could tell you this, we have football fields of people lining up, coming into this country, and tens of thousands more over the other side of the border. And Brandon and I have both been witnessing how many children, also how many military-aged males, just coming across the border, filling bus loads. This is what is happening right now at the behest of the Biden administration, Sean, and we are now witnessing probably one of the worst in our modern history situations here at the U.S. southern border.
Brandon, let's get your take on it. We now see these massive crowds coming in. Is there any documentation? For example, are we doing any background checks? I mean, we have 6.5 million people enter this country in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody had a health check. There was no vaccine mandate. There was no background check to see if they had radical associations. No check to see if they would be a financial burden on the American people at a time when we cannot afford to pay for schooling and health care, et cetera. We have $31 trillion in debt. Is there any of that going on at all?
Absolutely not. The only thing that we do is we fingerprint them to see if they have a criminal record here in the United States. We also look to see if they have an Interpol hit, and that's it. We can't check anything that's happening in their countries. If they have a criminal record in their country, we're never going to know about it. And when you look at what the administration has done, they've completely and totally turned upside down what we have always done as far as the enforcement aspect of it. We could get this under control tomorrow. All we have to do is go back to the policies that President Trump implemented. Joe Biden stole those policies from us. He stole every single one of our enforcement tools that would allow us to get this under control. We can keep the American public safe, but the only way we can do it is if we re-implement the rule of law. Without that, the American public is going to suffer.
Well, Brandon, let me ask you this, because Joe Biden, early in his presidency, told people, illegal immigrants, that if you're fleeing oppression, you should come to our border. Now he's saying, in the lead up to this, that the border will be chaotic this week. Yet we have Alejandro Mayorkas, DHS secretary, and Biden repeatedly lying to us by saying, oh, no, the border is secure. Don't believe your lying eyes. We're seeing, literally millions of people enter this country. He's aiding and abetting these people in this effort. If I went down to the border and I picked up people in a truck and I drove them to another state, would I be guilty of human trafficking?
You would, and you should be arrested, and you should go to prison. So should Joe Biden. If he wasn't the president of the United States, I would arrest him. But he is the president, so he's not held accountable. And the other main problem is the media. The media doesn't hold him accountable. All of this chaos could go away tomorrow. I hate political rhetoric. I hate listening to Secretary Mayorkas because he never offers any evidence. He doesn't give any facts. He completely and totally glosses over. But the media
lies. He tells us over and over again the border's secure. It's not secure. It's not been secure. They've done everything to make it wide open. That's what's happened.
And Sean, the reason why I know that he lies is because before he was even confirmed, I spoke with him. I told him exactly what he needed to do. I spoke with the Biden transition team before he took office. I told them what they needed to do. They completely ignored everything, and they allowed this chaos to happen because they wanted it to happen. It is by design.
Sara, we're talking about human trafficking. We're talking about young girls being sexually abused. You have covered that story. You have shown us evidence. Never mind fentanyl and meth and cocaine and opioids and heroin also crossing that border, killing our children.
Sean, our children are dying, our citizens are dying, obviously from counterfeit pills and fentanyl, but migrant children are dying, are being abused, are being put into work camps, are being used by sexual predators and sold even in our own country. And it's the Biden administration and President Biden that is perpetuating this. And they are making the cartels stronger and the human trafficking organizations stronger because they are aiding and abetting those organizations. That is what is happening in our country. And somebody has to tell the truth, and somebody has to put a stop to it.
All right, Brandon, Sarah, thank you both. We appreciate it. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.